Hello, hello. This is Penelope Flynn, co-host of Discussions from the Otherhood. I'm here with the remainder of the Blerrdsassins Next Door. We've got Sonia, we've got James, we've got Otto. Nikki won't be here today because Nikki is going to see The Color Purple with our mom. But other than that, everybody's A-OK. And before we get started with the subject, we're going to talk a little about the weather. And Sonia, since you're up top, how is your weather?
Well, it's hot for Rochester, and it's supposed to get hotter because they're pending heat index. I think it's tomorrow. I don't remember. Right now, it's 81, feels like 82, but it's supposed to get up into the 90s during the week. So they're
Wow.
all, it's hot, it's hot. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
not that
But for
hot.
you all, that's hot. Still 90s up there.
I
That's
know.
hot.
Yeah, Wednesday and Thursday is supposed to hit 93 with a heat index of about 100.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Well, James, how's your weather? About the same or lower?
Right now it's 81 degrees and it's partially cloudy and this summer fun city. In fact, it's so much fun city that our mayor took a dip in the pool up in East Harlem, suit and all.
Oh, wow. Who did such a thing?
Our mayor, Mom Donnie.
He jumped in, suit and all.
Yeah,
That must have been interesting.
yeah.
Well,
It was,
he's got a lot to celebrate. All the candidates he supported won.
but see,
Wow.
the main thing, like I said before, I wasn't around for LaGuardia,
Mm-hmm.
but he has that same type of magic with kids, you know,
Wow.
because the kids jumped in to the pool after him, you know.
Oh, that must have been so cute. Oh, but other than that, your night 80 is going to stay in the 80s or is it going to get hotter?
Nah, it's okay. Today it's in the 80s. Then for I think Monday and Tuesday it's gonna go up into the 90s, and then
Mm-hmm.
starting like I think Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday it's gonna go to 100.
Mm-hmm. Wow. See, I think we've already hit either 100 or close to it. What do you think? We close to it? Yeah. So yeah, we're close to it. If not hitting it, because when I'm in the car, my temperature gauge says like over 100, but they always say no. My temperature gauge in the car is a little high, but yeah, it's getting hot here too, really hot. You want to say anything about the weather? I don't.
How close am I to the mic?
You're not close enough that they'll hear you speaking like that. Louder. You got to speak louder. The mic
Lean in.
here. Here.
Back here.
I think it's here. Okay. How's that? Try now.
It's hot.
Is
We
that any
heard
better?
that.
Okay.
It's hot. That
Yes.
is all.
Thank you. You're real good at that. Saying it's real hot. All right. Super.
And by the way, is Nikki going to see the movie or are they going to see the play?
I think it's in a play. I think it's a play.
Or musical, is it?
Yeah, musical. The musical, yes. The musical, yes. So she said she promised she'd go. So
Because I can't imagine why anybody would go see the movie now.
yeah. So it's got to be the play, of course. But she said because she said she's going with my mom, so I presume that is a play.
And everybody in New York loves the new mayor,
Yes.
except for the New York Post.
Yeah. Everything it's you know what? Some people you can't please, no matter what.
They call him America hating mayor
Okay. So
Yeah,
why is this even America? What
because
is
he's
it?
Islam. He's Islamic.
Okay.
And
So
he's,
they're all
he's a socialist.
no,
okay.
it's none of that. All of the reason why the Post hates him is because he's a human being. Period.
He's a
Okay,
human being. That's
and
enough.
nobody pays attention to the New York Post. I mean, if you go into the delis or stores, you'll find it's stacked up because nobody really buys the
Yep.
Post.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, those guys. I hope they're happy with their hatred. And the 4th of July is coming up, and we're talking about here. And what do people like that even think? I mean, they don't understand that they live in a country that's supposed to be inclusive, and they want to try to make it exclusive because they otherwise don't have anything else going for them, I guess.
I got news for you. You have a person of color that's on the editorial board.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Which proves my theory.
Which is your theory?
Uncle Tom exists.
Or they don't have any power. Just maybe a paper tiger. There's somebody who can say that you're there, but they don't give you any sway, right?
Yeah, with whoever I forget his name. I could be wrong. I think his last name might be Robinson or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. Nah, you know how it is. People like that, they always will find somebody to do the buck dance for them.
Yeah, yeah.
So every day when he goes to corporate headquarters on, I think, Sixth Avenue, he has his tap shoes in a suitcase. So
All right.
And he gets arrested by the office guards because they think
Yeah.
that he's trying to break in every single
Every
time.
time he shows up at work.
yeah, if you're sitting at your cubicle doing work, all of a sudden you hear, he's coming down the hall.
There you go. I said, I get made it to work, boss. I'm here. I'm here. But I think a lot of people, they don't care because they say, if I didn't work here, where I'm going to work, I don't have any real skills, and these people allow me to be here just even as a figurehead. At least I'm getting paid, right?
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people think like that.
yeah. I mean, what's her name at Fox? The black woman reporter, Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Harrison Faulkner.
Don't know him. I don't watch Fox so well enough to know
Yeah.
anybody's name.
Yeah, well, she's been on Fox for years, and this is what they do. They get one out the herd or the
Mm-hmm.
bunch, and they put them in front of a camera or
Mm-hmm.
newspapers to give the false impression that no, we're inclusive and stuff. People that
Mm-hmm.
are, you know.
Yeah. See, these people are just. This person thinks the same way that we do. Blah blah blah. So yeah, they might and they might not, because some people just think I want to be able to eat and live indoors, and I'll do whatever it takes to be able to do that.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into our subject,
Yes. Yes.
you say you don't watch Fox, right?
Uh-huh.
Anybody watch ESPN
Sometimes,
on the NBA draft that just happened?
no, I didn't see the draft.
Well, people are complaining about a black woman reporter
Mm-hmm.
for ESPN by the name of Malika Andrews. Anybody heard of that name?
Yeah.
I don't know who she is.
Okay, so she's a reporter for ESPN. She was doing the NBA draft.
Uh-huh.
And some people were complaining the fact that each and every time that she introduced or had a discussion with players that were drafted, these young men that were drafted,
Mm-hmm.
she would always emphasize and mention the mothers, how much the mothers sacrificed and
Yeah.
what they did.
Right.
Would not mention the fathers at all.
Uh-huh.
For instance,
Mm-hmm.
Carlos Boozer,
Mm-hmm.
you heard of that name before?
Who's he?
So he was a former NBA player. He played for Utah. I think he
Mhm.
played for Chicago.
Yeah.
And so his son came up for the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And Malika Andrews, people were complaining, is that Malika Andrews mentioned the Boozer's son's mom,
Okay.
but didn't even mention the father at all, or the fact that his father played in the NBA.
Okay.
In addition to that, she had a history of saying that I think that one of the players for Charlotte was involved in some sort of sexual mishap in college. He was
Mhm.
drafted anyway, but he
Mhm.
just brought that up. But she was silent
Mm-hmm.
when the player for OKC
Mm-hmm.
was involved in the so-called sexual mishap with the underage girl.
My God.
So it's like
Well, why didn't she mention that?
she didn't mention that. So it's like you build a history for yourself.
Right. Right.
You do that thing, and maybe
Right.
you can recognize it yourself,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe people could bring your attention to it.
Yeah.
And so maybe this black guy at the post is a similar person.
Mm-hmm.
You can see your pattern of behavior,
Mhm.
or maybe somebody needs to bring it to your attention. And
Yeah.
maybe you can say, "Oh, I didn't know that
I
was
didn't realize I was
happening."
doing that.
Yeah, because you
Or something like, yeah, maybe you should write your own stuff and instead of expecting other people to do it for you.
right. It was Brandon Miller. She went off on Brandon Miller because I think that Miller had
Mm-hmm.
done something in college, and she said something about it. And then, of course, there was Josh Giddey in OKC. Remember him? He went to a club, and somebody pretended to be overage. I guess that's what he said.
Yeah. What thing she came in the club? She was in. Yeah, she was in the club. So he gathered that you're in a club where you had to be carded to get in.
Right.
So you presume that any woman in this club has been carded,
which is understandable.
Yeah.
I think it's understandable.
That makes perfect sense.
But for the reporter not to even mention it, I just.
But I'm thinking that she should have mentioned it for either one.
Yeah, and then Carlos Boozer. I mean, the thing with Carlos Boozer's son getting drafted, he got drafted. I said, man, is that Carlos Boozer's son? But I didn't even know because she didn't even mention Carlos Boozer.
I don't know him, so I wouldn't have known whether he was mentioned or not. But I think it shows.
So I thought it was. I said, no way could that guy be Carlos Boozer's son because surely someone would have said, this is Carlos Boozer's son.
So who is Carlos Boozer?
Carlos Boozer is a player who played about 15 years ago
for who?
In the NBA for Chicago and Utah.
Right. And so I guess maybe again she is a reporter, but she is not a sports reporter. You know what I mean? So these people will report on things that are like basic stuff, but not really on sports. You know what I mean?
Well, see, here's the thing with ESPN. She has a track record of saying controversial things in the past. See the difference. See, back in the day, if you brought this to a person's attention, they say, "Oh wow, I didn't know." What I said, or what I've been saying. But these days, people pretty much put out who they are out there. So this is who she is.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. That's who she is. Yeah, after this long track record, that's who she is.
Yeah. This is who she is. Same thing with somebody like Jason Whitlock. Okay, and other.
Stephen A. Smith. That's it. That's his shtick. I like you. That's his shtick.
Yeah, this is this chick. It's the same thing. You have a truckload of people like that on WFAN in New York. When I used to hear Boomer Esiason in the morning, his morning show, I used to say, well, some of the stuff he's saying is maybe just an aberration. And then I used to see how he would react to things on the NFL show, pregame show. But then, after the last presidential election, he got on FA and talked about, oh, this is a brand new, beautiful day and start of something good from the election and all. No, this is who he is.
Yeah, it's who he is.
Yeah.
And we rooted for him when he played for the Jets. We rooted for him. But the thing is that these same people will tell you that we should keep politics out of sports. But they're the most aggregators as far as putting politics into sports.
They sure do. And they try to use those things as a leverage, especially those who commit crimes and thereafter want pardons and shit. Excuse my French,
this is who these people are. They're not sugarcoating it anymore. It's in your face. That's why we're coming up on America's 250th birthday, and it's just sad the state of affairs of America. If you ask me.
Well, I think that I tripped over a YouTube channel called PBS Origins. I'm not sure if anyone's seen that. Anyone seen that?
Only when you put it out.
Oh yeah, I sometimes I see it and whatnot. And while you're on the subject, did you pick it up after you tripped over it?
Yes, I did. I picked myself up too.
Okay, there we go.
But it's a good exploration of a lot of things that a lot of people may not know during this country's so-called 250th anniversary of its existence.
Yeah, very interesting things. And in fact, I think a lot of them kind of track some of the historic things that come from Tad Sturmer, who is does that resistance history of the United States. If you ever see him on his podcast, it's really great. But some of the historical things that he talks about there, they track those same types of issues. It's really uh,
Really good
interesting.
stuff.
Yeah.
Like so, I heard for years when I watched Bugs Bunny,
Mm-hmm.
Bugs Bunny would say, "What a maroon,"
Mm-hmm.
and I thought that, well, that sounded like a weird word.
Yeah.
But Penelope told me at first a couple of years ago what a maroon was,
Mm-hmm.
literally what a maroon was, and then on this PBS channel
Mm-hmm.
called PBS Origins, it just told you in detail what maroons were,
Mm-hmm.
or I guess it
Who the
still are
Maroons,
maroons,
yeah.
and how it's related to people who were freed black people and people who were former slaves and escaped.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea. So Bugs Bunny is saying this. I'm like, oh boy, what a funny name to call somebody.
Yeah. Also,
But the thing is, basically, though, just because maroon, it's a disparaging remark.
Yeah.
And maroons are black people.
Yeah, and also that word also relates to certain parts of the Caribbean,
Absolutely.
certain
Especially
tribes.
those I remember in Jamaica, I believe it was that had escaped and they went up into the mountains. But once they went up into the mountains, escaped, then when other people tried to escape, they turned them right back and sent them right back to Massa. That was their deal.
Yeah, but I had no idea that maroon, I thought it was like Cameroon or what's the other word they call black people, mulatto, and there's so many different names for us. I never thought maroon was a word for us.
But I didn't realize it either until much later, that I put two and two together. I didn't when I was a kid, I certainly didn't know.
I didn't know what that was. I thought it was like a buffoon or.
But I guess that's in a way what they're trying to say.
Well, I think most people identify the word maroon with the color as a shade.
That too.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's true.
Okay,
right.
But see, here's my story when it comes to this country.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, I brought into
Mm-hmm.
the whole American history and the narrative and dare I say propaganda.
Absolutely.
But in fact, I can remember in PS 77 going. If you went into PS 77's auditorium, in the back it was a nice mural
Mm-hmm.
of the spirit of 76. But what the artist did was, I think, what is it? The drummer, the fife player, and the person holding the flag. One of them he made out in the likeness of Abraham Lincoln, which I thought was really cool. And for assembly, the vice principal used to come down and sing. It was it's a grand old flag, and we used to, with no problem, we used to sing, lift every voice and sing.
Mm-hmm.
But then, being a student of history, especially like Civil War
Mm-hmm.
and New York history, the more I read, okay, the more I was like, well, this is not what we were indoctrinated
Mm-hmm.
on, and see, and sometimes being a person that loves history is sad because you find
Curse.
huh?
It's a curse.
Yeah, it's a curse. Um, because you start to find out these little tidbits of history, and you're like, wow, so this is the country that I'm living in,
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I hate to say, but right now the pendulum has swung to the right, and they're trying so hard to erase, especially when it comes to African American history or
Mm-hmm.
the history of diaspora. They're they're so hard trying to erase it, but they end up messing up anyway. Look at that abomination that's supposed to be, excuse me, the Great American Fair. right? Which I see nobody's going to. Okay, I even saw an empty baby carriage. you know,
Mhm.
one of the states that decided to participate was North Carolina,
Mhm.
and look what happens. You go into the exhibit, there goes the Confederate flag,
Mm.
and people got so pissed that they had to go back and change it. And also one of the major backers, some company, I think it might have been Bass,
Mhm.
um, the sporting goods store, they pulled out.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? They pulled out, and see, this is no accident, because if you look at the history of North Carolina, all of North Carolina's state flags never had the Confederate battle flag.
That's something.
They were a variation of the actual Confederate flag.
Mhm.
Okay, what we see is the stars and bars. That's the battle flag.
Hmm.
Okay, so you know, and we have to be vigilant, because if we don't, we gonna slip right back into this stuff. They've been trying every chance certain people in this country get. They try to rewrite history.
Yeah, and this but because the lie becomes the truth, right?
Yeah, yeah. I remember like 15 years ago when I first started to check out YouTube.
Mhm.
There was these crazy ass videos where they were trying to say that, oh well, there were blacks in the Confederate Army in the
Mhm.
thousands. Okay, and I'm like, wait a minute, where the hell did they get that from? And I mean, there were blacks in the Confederate Army, but you could basically count them on your hands.
And then most of them have to figure that they were just there as basically servants for the people that they probably have been,
Well,
slaving for to begin with. You
well,
know.
actually, what it was in the last days of the Civil War. Lee was like, "Listen, we're losing manpower. Johnny Reb is deserting in hordes. We got to get some type of manpower." So the Confederate Congress passed a law where they said, "Okay, all you slaves, you could become free if you fight for the Confederacy." And some did, and in fact, it's this it might have been Virginia where you had this ironic things where Union cavalry actually got into a skirmish with black Confederates,
Mhm.
um, guarding a wagon load of supplies.
Mhm.
But it wasn't in the thousands. Okay, maybe
No.
at the most you got maybe 50 Negroes that said okay, and I guarantee you 49 of those 50 Negroes were like, listen, when it's dark, I'm going to get out this uniform. I'm heading over to the north.
Yeah, or if they have your family basically held hostage. You know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it wasn't even, and you know how things are in this country. It was no guarantee that
That's
if
right.
if the Confederacy had won, that they would get their freedom.
Exactly. I remember
Okay.
not too long ago, maybe they had this program where if you were undocumented and you were in the military and you died in service to the country, that your family was supposed to get their citizenship. And a young man, I think he had been from Mexico or something. I think it's Mexico, but he had, died, of course, in during his doing his duty, his tour of duty, and then they basically deported his family, even
Yeah.
though that was not the deal. They deported them anyway.
That doesn't seem fair.
Nope,
I
guess
mean, I'm
not.
not trying to be funny, but it doesn't seem fair.
No.
And my question issue is this: is that if you have this big movement that's been going on for years, almost like
Mm-hmm.
more than a century,
Mm-hmm.
of trying to reinvigorate Confederate thought and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that, how do those people celebrate July 4th?
I don't know. Would they? I mean, they obviously don't like anything that's going on in our country. They want to have some separate country. So I don't know if they would celebrate July 4th.
Well, I think it's probably a case of they will celebrate depending who's in power, who's in the White House.
Mm.
Okay, if it's like if Obama was in office, they was like, hell no, we're not celebrating that. There's a Negro in the White House. They would probably celebrate if George Bush Jr. was in the White House, but that's only because he's a Texan. And they would celebrate, probably started to celebrate at first when LBJ was president and still until he started all the civil rights legislation. So it depends. And oh, hell yeah, if it was Woodrow Wilson, shit, oh boy. You know what I'm saying? Oh boy, yeah, they up for that party.
But see, the thing gets me is that I think, but if you were truly a patriot, truly a citizen, isn't it the fact that you would actually be celebrating the country, not who it is that just happens to be president, because it's the system that you're supposed to be celebrating, right? Or that would be my position.
People that call themselves patriots are not patriots, okay? Because like you said, they would look above it and whatnot and celebrate it as this country's birthday. No. Right. Yeah, they I mean, nothing for nothing. I can remember when I was marching in a senior drum and bugle corps, we did a parade up in Massachusetts, and we're waiting, for the parade to start. And every side street along the main street, they would have different marching bands or whatever, swing on to the parade route. So we're waiting, and jumping, Jiminy, look what I see swinging off of a side street, but a detachment of Confederate soldiers.
You gotta be kidding me.
In Massachusetts. And I was like, fuck out of here. What the hell is going on with this?
Yeah.
But it was the 4th of July. And I just took it in the context of they were part of a larger group of Civil War reenactors.
Okay.
So I looked at the bigger picture. 'cause you had colonial pictures. I remember one parade where you had revolutionary colonialists marching in the parade, and I kid you what, they had some colonial naval sailors, and I had to give this man credit because he was dressed as a colonial sailor, and him and a couple other people were pulling a boat.
Pulling a boat?
And not only that, they were barefoot.
Oh my Lord!
They're into it.
They were serious.
They were serious. I was like, he had his sailor pants all tatted, and he had a scarf on his head, and he pulling. You can see
they were committed.
Yeah, he had the suntan going. I said, this dude, he ain't got on those shoes.
But in that sense, did they have people dressed up as redcoats?
Yeah.
Okay,
whenever.
Because if you're a loser, if you lost the war, you shouldn't be parading around anything. So it's like if redcoats, Confederate Army, Nazi, anybody this country has taken up arms against.
Well, they have to do reenactments, I guess. You want to have everybody.
Well, how about Nazi reenactments of D-Day?
Well, I was going to say that with certain reenactments, right? And when they have these festivals, it was the World War Festival, you would probably not see anybody dressed as SS officers. Okay,
Hessian soldiers. That's it's a slippery slope, right?
Yeah, I know.
Confederates are losers. They lost.
I
If you're
know.
doing a reenactment, you would have the both sides, the women
Yeah,
and the
yeah. You gotta have
yeah.
both sides. Um, I let you guys in on a little secret. If you ever see, I think they call it the president's own fife and drum corps.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever they do a parade, two things:
Mm-hmm.
they wear red coats.
Hmm.
Okay, why? I don't understand. Out of all the colonial uniforms, this fife and drum corps and is technically part of the United
Mm-hmm.
States Army. They wear red coats, and also the drum major is the only person in the army that's allowed to salute the president with his left hand
Well, why is that?
because he usually has the mace. They call it. It's like a staff.
Yes, right, right. The
Yeah,
director, the
right. He usually
uh-huh.
has that in his right hand, so he's the only person that's allowed to salute the president with his left hand. Just
Oh,
like if you go back to the Revolutionary War,
mm-hmm.
the British Navy, okay, actually the British Navy they wore blue. Okay, they wore blue. The rest you had the red coats running around, which I
Mm-hmm.
don't understand. I mean, that was easy. That's an easy target if you ask
Yeah,
me.
yeah, kind of. Didn't think too much about that camouflage thing, huh?
Yeah, so yeah, the British Navy the sailors wore blue. So you have these little oddities,
Mm-hmm.
with American history, just like the first Bull Run, really the first major battle of the Civil War. It was a hot mess because you had soldiers, Confederate soldiers wearing blue, and you had Union soldiers wearing gray in certain places
Huh? Well, why is that?
because the war had just started, and certain state militias in the South wore blue because they were still at the time part of the United States. So,
Mm-hmm.
and also the the Confederates had a hard time trying to come up with material to make uniforms.
Mm,
So it's like, Jeb, get that blue uniform out your closet and come on. You
mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, with the North, you had a lot of militia units that wore like a West Point gray.
Right, right.
They wore West Point gray. Um, Finally, in fact, you hear about the blue and the gray. That's kind of misleading because actually it was the blue versus the butternut because most Confederate Army units wore butternut because they couldn't get the material for gray.
So we said butternut. What color is that?
Butternut is like, think of beige, khaki, and the color of a peanut shell. In fact,
Butternut squash.
yeah, butternut squash too.
Well, that's what I'm
Um,
thinking, but I'm like, okay, but that sounds really weird to me. I've never seen a uniform that color.
yeah, and in the long run, it won out, especially the shade of khaki, because as time went on, and trust me, I know this from my own experience, dark colors do not work well in the sun.
Mm,
Okay,
yeah.
and the reason why I know this because marching with the Westchester Brashmen, we tried to be all cute and had cobalt blue and all black uniforms,
Oh my goodness.
and even with our flags, one of the flag bearers had the skull and crossbones
Mm.
and whatnot. But good gooba goo. Certain parades, if it was 90 degrees, people start dropping like flies from the heat
Wow, I can
because the
imagine.
dark color, it attracts the heat.
Yep,
You know,
yep.
Well,
so
do you celebrate July 4th?
well, Yes, yes and no.
Okay.
Okay. July 4th has always been a pain for. Well, I mean, when it was a kid, it was yay, firecrackers,
Mm-hmm.
all
Of
that.
course, of course.
I can actually remember going down to Chinatown with me and my brother and my father, and we're walking. My father keeps looking from side to side, and all of a sudden he sees this white guy, and he goes over the guy that's leaning on his car, and the white guy. Then he starts looking. He pops open his trunk. And oh my God, it's bricks of firecrackers, M80s, sparklers,
Oh my goodness.
you name it, a bazooka, anti-aircraft gun, yeah, I was there, a blunderbuss, yeah. And listen, we was in heaven because we thought we were the Lord of the Manor when we got back to Brownsville houses because we had
Oh
a
my
brick of
goodness.
firecrackers.
Are you kidding, man? That's be so dangerous.
Oh yes it was. Yes it was. But when you get older, you know, your priorities change, so you're
Mm-hmm.
sleeping on the Fourth of July. Like, God damn it, when aren't they finished yet? Like I don't know what the hell was going on the Hudson River a couple of nights ago, but all of a sudden it's you, you start hearing fucking, and this, you know, Otto, they get the professionals when it comes to fireworks.
Fireworks.
Yeah, on the river.
Mm-hmm.
What's the name? Gucci Brothers or
I forgot their name. Yes, it's an Italian.
right?
They do a really good job.
Well, they did a hell of a job the other night, but I'm like, wait a minute, it's not the Fourth of July. What the fuck are they doing? The only thing I could think of was they were practicing or
Yeah,
testing out.
possibly, right?
Yeah, because this year, from what I understand, they're gonna be on the Hudson and the East River.
Wow.
Yeah, I
So
mean the only bad thing about that fireworks show is that in my mind it's too short.
Yeah,
So they do
man.
a really good job.
I know some of those things we see there. The work is so fantastic, and
yeah.
you wish it could go on all night. You know.
Well, the other night I wish it would have stopped. But no. So your priorities change.
Yeah.
When it comes to the Fourth of July. Um, like I said, I just accept it as it is. You know, and especially
What is all
now,
that, man? That's
I
scratching and
know
scratching. Okay,
sounds
never
like
mind.
a robot scratching its butt.
Yeah, man.
No,
So
it was my mic cord fell out and trying to get it all adjusted.
Damn, I
yeah.
thought you were in a life or death struggle.
My mic was trying to die, and so I had to jerry rig something.
Oh,
Oh
okay.
my
So,
goodness!
so James, do you celebrate it?
Again, it depends on the times. This year, now I'm not feeling it at all. It's like I'll just send the United States, like you get on Facebook and it's somebody's birthday, you just put HBD,
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
and that's it. You know, um, yeah, because and see, I don't. The reason why I don't know. With me, it's just it is what it is because of the fact that I hope that we can get past this insanity.
Exactly.
Okay, and really, I I saw this coming a long time ago because one thing I said about the United States is one of these days we're going to produce a Caligula type of
Hmm.
president, and we have. Now the question is, can we survive it for this country to celebrate its 251st birthday?
Yeah. No joke.
Okay, and I hate to say it, but I think times it's gonna get worse before it gets better. But I just have that hope. I just have that hope, and looking back at certain historical figures throughout history, both black and white and other colors, reading some of what they say and reading some of what they did in the past and whatnot, you have their forlorn hope.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, because I mean, we look at our the past, especially for a lot of African American people, it has been worse. It has been worse, but we don't want to rest on that and say I accept this because things have been worse. We say no, we know what it is that this country is supposed to be, and
Right,
we basically would hold their feet to the fire, to become what it is supposed to be,
right,
and not just accept saying, well, it could be worse. Well, shoot, a lot of things could be worse, and I
yeah,
don't accept those things either.
yeah. We've been through worse as a people,
Hmm.
but we have to we have to press on, and we cannot accept what's what's going on now, and also we cannot let it backslide
Right.
ever again. And,
Yeah,
and,
and
and
like this we acknowledge is not normal. This is an aberration, but this aberration exists because we thought that we lived in a country where people could be expected to act based on their morality. And so we find that no, there's a lot of people here who have no morals or very few, and so we have to tighten the reins to make certain that they don't have discretion to act in certain
yeah,
ways.
yeah, because in fact, I remember a couple of podcasts ago, I said that I really think that our parents tried to protect us
Yes.
from what was going on in the world because they lived through it.
Right.
They lived through it.
Right.
But I think part of the problem was United States, for better or worse, kind of held it together in the second half of the 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because that was supposed to be the American century.
Mm-hmm.
But I think once we left the 20th century and we started going into the 21st, I think this country lost its direction. I think morally, ethically, um, civics class wise, we kind of lost it,
Mm-hmm.
and all of that has us where we're at now.
Yeah, well, I will tell you one of the things I think is that when Barack Obama became president, as part of this nation, you know, celebrated. Another part just like shrugged their shoulders and said, okay, I figure this is something that was going to happen eventually anyway.
Yeah,
But then another part thought, all my life, I thought at least there was things that only I would, people that look like me would be able to do. And now we realize that the door is open and that competition is open and that there are no more areas where you can just, block it off and say, well, this is for, basically for lack of a better term, for white men. And all these things here are for white men. Anybody can do it. So that means you got to be prepared to compete, with everyone. And God forbid. I mean, that's why Hillary or any woman doesn't have any ability right now to get into a position like that of president because these people lost their minds when they realized that the doors were open and the competition was open. They were
it,
not ready for open competition. And
it
that's the backslide comes from is that these people, when they finally realized that given open competition, they will not win, that nobody's saving a seat for them, that you have to earn it. And they don't want to live in a world where they have to earn anything.
exactly. You hit the nail on the head. These people, a certain segment of this country, lost their freaking minds when Obama was elected president,
Right.
and it didn't help that at the time, and it's still probably going to happen. At the time, people were saying, well, in the next 20 years, 20, 30 years, the minorities are going to be the majority.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, I think just like now, I think the media helps.
Yep.
The media helps. I remember when Obama, everybody,
Yeah.
on this program,
Planet.
remember when Obama became president,
Right.
and the media just helped. It helped aggravate this Tea Party thing, and just
Yes.
gave it a lot of airspace and
Yep.
everything else. They help. I think we don't recognize how conservative the media is about a lot of their politics and how they take advantage of whatever they can in order to increase their viewership and all
Right. The
that.
readership. They will do anything.
And so, people showing up at Obama speeches with guns and everything like that. That was madness. And nobody said that it was madness. They would just show it.
But here it is. They won't say this is wrong or why is this guy being able to do this? You
Well,
know.
well, well, you gotta look at it like this. That whole thing with militias and people showing up
Mm-hmm.
with guns on it, that was festering long before Obama
Well,
became
yeah, because remember they put
Yeah.
that Ruby Ridge and
No, I
all
get
that
that. I
stuff
get
went
that.
way back.
But if you remember also during the Clinton administration, a lot of it was put down.
Mm-hmm.
It was put down, but it was given airspace by the media. They loved it.
well,
They loved controversy.
I
They loved that stuff.
I don't know about. I mean, yes, some of it was stopped, but at the same time, a lot of it, especially if you go by state, they just let it run because they didn't want to. They didn't want to confront it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you look at a state like Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then with Ruby Ridge, they tried to make that guy out to be a hero or Mater, and then it didn't help with what happened in Waco,
Nope.
you know. And in fact, I f- I here's where I knew something was wrong because in New York City you have WBAI radio, free speech radio. I understand that. Okay. In fact, I'm a member. Okay. I'm a donor, a member.
Mm-hmm.
But back then in the early '90s, you had this health food expert Gary Knoll
Mm-hmm.
on. He would have a show. He was so popular, he had a show almost every day on WBAI. And one time he had this woman come on, and she was talking about government conspiracies and this and that, and this and that. And she was a militia member from out west.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wait a minute, what is somebody like her doing on WBAI? Okay, and that shows you how unfortunately people just kept looking the other way, the other way.
Mm-hmm.
That's like I forget which state it was. It might be Idaho. You had this crazy ass Claude Dallas. He was living out in the countryside, and I think he had shot two wildlife officers, and it was a whole manhunt. They made him into a hero.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
the thing is, living in the Northeast and seeing these things, these people on television, or hearing them on the radio, they were oddities. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, everybody, look
Yeah.
at this. It's like I found a three-headed snake or something.
Yeah.
It wasn't like there's a lot of people like this. It's like, look at this strange shit that I found.
Mm-hmm.
It's like talking to somebody. I used to be a member of the KKK, and now I wouldn't watch a show like that. But back in the day, I would watch it because it was so odd. It's like, really, people like that exist? Yeah, it's like that sounds weird.
Yeah.
But
well, because
nowadays, it's like it's rudimentary.
because again, people were looking the other way, especially federalist, state, local, federal government was looking the other way with these people, and also we kind of lulled ourselves into thinking that these people are just some oddities, as you say,
Yes. Yes.
and we shouldn't bother with it. I always listen. I looked at some of the shows, um, but I also had a bit of a problem with All in the Family.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
It's
because
very interesting because we talked, my sister Nikki, of course, talk about that now. That we are adults. Because the issue was, I think when we were growing up, we understood that that was supposed to be a joke. That
right,
Archie was the bad guy. He was the,
Well, I don't see.
not bad guy, but that Archie was he was behind the times.
Yeah, he was,
He's the
and he was an oddity.
yes, yeah.
His
We
odd.
expected that he was. Well, I didn't think he was oddity.
I thought
What
he
I
was an
thought was
oddity.
that all old at the time. I figured old white men in
right.
his age group, that there's gonna be a lot of people that are still like that because he was poor, a lower
Mm,
middle class guy,
Uneducated.
yeah, uneducated, and that all of those guys, I expect that they would be that way. But I expect that most people who are like, at least finish high school would not be that way. That they would have some modicum of sense.
right.
At least
Yes.
anybody who have been, at least I would say this: anyone who was old enough to be in the Vietnam War, that they would know better. You know, Now
Yes.
people who go older than that may not, but if you're, at the age that you had been able to go to Vietnam, you would know better.
Yes.
But it seemed that
But
moving
if
forward, I was wrong.
but if you lived in New York City or someplace like
Right,
that,
right.
Philadelphia, and you see these white guys of a certain age, right?
Right.
They were conservative and stuff like that, supported Nixon, and I'm
Mhm.
sure they voted for Reagan and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So it was no surprise. And nobody really gave a damn about them.
Mhm.
But there was the younger generation of white people that we went to school with
Right,
and
right.
everything else. They had no interest in that stuff whatsoever. Well, who knew that that the sons and daughters would become their parents?
Yeah, but you know why? Because when they were growing up, their parents told them that they would not have to compete. And then the reality hit when they got out into the real world. That yes, you will be competing against black people and brown people. Yes, you'll be competing against women, people just like your sister, just like your mother. They aren't going to coddle you and say everything's going to be all right.
I
They're going to be
guess.
competing against you for that job.
They switch sides, right?
Yeah, I guess
Well,
so.
it's not so much switching sides. It's a generational thing. Okay, because okay, I'll be 66 this year.
Mhm.
Okay, my sister and my brother, they came up through the generation, the '60s hippies. Um, they were more progressive. I still consider, well, I am progressive, but the generation that came up after them were were different in that those the generation that came after them, i.e., people my age, they were at home with their parents. Okay, so they kind of took on that that looking in politically in another direction. You know,
Or remember, they said that that period for us, like they moved into the me generation, and a lot of times I think
Who's that even mean?
Well, I'm just saying that to my, I think I'm going to say that there's a little bit to that because
Mm.
our parents, their parents were very community minded, you
right?
know, but then they said, okay, all the hard work's been done. You're going to school, you can get that job, you can not be discriminated against in such a very obvious way, right?
Mhm.
So everything's a-okay. So now you could be like them and just go for yourself, right? Go for what you know. The new generation.
That,
So
that was
just go-
that was our generation.
yes.
Really?
But they're raising us to believe that everything is equal and you
Well,
rise and
let me say
fall
this.
on your own merit,
We were going
right?
to we were going to college.
Right.
We thought everything that we needed to protest against in this country had been done. Right.
Right, exactly. That's what I mean.
So much so that
Yeah.
we focus on protesting against apartheid in South Africa.
The other people's problems, right?
Yeah, Palestinian situation in the Middle East. And so we thought all that other stuff domestically had been done already.
Right, exactly.
So
Yeah,
That's what I mean.
let's solve the world. That's
well, I mean, solve in that sense, but you figured I can solve the world because everything here is
yeah,
fine.
I'm done with all
That's
that.
why I can go get my job. I don't have to worry
Right.
about taking care of the quote unquote, as the old days say, lifting up the race, right?
If you wanted
That's not
something,
my-
basically, if
yeah.
you wanted something, you could go get it.
Right. And so our focus became that is the me generation, on the me, that I focus on my job, my house, my children, my husband, my family, whatever.
Selfishness is that?
Well, yeah,
Because again, you thought all of the struggles were done, and I
right,
mean
right.
during the 70s was probably the you had that was
Hmm.
probably the highest period
Yep,
of people of color working for the federal government.
right.
You
And you
know,
have to look at it this way: that this is how it is that we did not understand. When we were doing this stuff, we thought the purpose of our parents and our grandparents and great grandparents doing all this stuff, working really hard, putting up with the abuses, was for us as now we can be individuals, like them, and get all these individual things that we want to get: houses, cars, money, jewelry, go to the schools, the quote unquote right schools, these the schools, integrated schools, blah 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 blah. We thought, okay, now you open the doors, and we all get. I think this, like, what do you call it? The fallacy of a merit-based society, right?
right,
Um, and so that's it. And we thought, I'm going to achieve by my own merit, right? And so we all did. It's like you may live in a family and you have, several children in that family, and some are really musical, some are smart, some are not as smart, some, good mechanics or whatever. Everybody does their own thing. They may do it well or whatever. But I was
right.
encouraging you that go do your own thing, but it's like not for the benefit of the family, the group, the community, but for your own benefit, right? So then your parents can say, now that you can do all these things on your own, we don't have to be responsible for you anymore. You know, so it's like you move the merit-based system kind of moves away from the concept of community. We didn't realize it at the time that when they were telling us, oh, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. What they mean is that you and you alone, you're not allowed to pull yourself up, then turn around and grab, everybody in your community and bring them up with you. It was encouragement for you to slow your roll and only go in like one person at a time instead of coming and flooding, the place with everybody that looks like you. At least that's what I have come to understand.
No, and you're correct. You can tell things started to change, or at least I did, was by the first couple of years of the 80s. At the
Mm-hmm.
time, I was attending CUNY Tech in
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn, right? And that was during the time when everybody was trying to push for Martin Luther King's birthday. So I could actually remember going on the train with my clipboard
Mm-hmm.
and and having people sign a petition for his birthday. And I remember
Mm-hmm.
coming to this. He might have been around the same age as me,
Mm-hmm.
brother. And I said, listen, you want to sign this? You know, it's a petition to make Martin Luther King's holiday federal.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I don't care about that, and he ain't did nothing for us, and
I said, whoa.
yeah, yeah, I was like, okay, this is strange, because I mean, 90, I guess he was the 99.9. Most of the time, people signed it,
Right, right, right.
didn't have a problem with it, but obviously he did, and then I remember
Or
working
maybe
for the.
maybe just being a contrarian, you know?
Well, they have come to prominence these last 10 years.
Tis true.
Contrary,
Tis
yeah,
true.
because they just say, I don't know, with contrarians, they just say shit just to be noticed. I think that's like Shaq saying the Earth is flat. I don't know where he got that from. But anyway, no, it was starting to change, and then you had Rupert Murdoch
Mm-hmm.
come into New York and buy
Yep.
the Post.
Which, I think that the concept that you're going to allow someone who's not from the United States to be running an American newspaper, I think that's really kind of effed up. That's when we realized that we were going into the international robber baron stage, They let anybody come over here and take whatever the hell they want to take from us. That's what there's the lack of patriotism, right?
Well, you do know that it wasn't just him. You also had Robert Maxwell coming from England, and he was trying to buy the Daily News.
Yeah. But
You
then people like what's that Roger Stone with what's that GM? You
know.
know, these people are not from here. They don't give a damn whether or not this country people here live or die,
Yeah,
succeed or fail. You
that
know.
you had that, and capital cities ended up as small as capital cities was. They ended up buying ABC.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, then you had Murdoch start with the Fox network.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, with Fox News. And this is when things start. And I kid you not, I don't understand what happened with New York City, but Fox News,
Uh-huh.
they own two TV stations in New York.
And at one point, I thought that was a violation of
It was, yeah,
antitrust. You know.
it was a violation of FCC rules. You could only have one station in one market area.
Right. Right.
But now Fox has um, Fox 5 here in New York, and it also has My 9, which used to be
Mm-hmm.
the old WOR.
Which it used to be two separate stations. But the people that you see now, the older people on Fox News,
Mm-hmm.
they used to be on Channel 5 in New York, WNEW.
Yeah,
They weren't like what they are now.
no, they weren't.
Yeah, which is
They totally changed
Mhm.
based on money
That's right.
and viewership and all that. But they used to be normal.
Yeah, which goes to show that these people they would do anything for money, anything with their job, anything.
Yeah,
Or maybe
'cause
they were always that way, and we never knew because their job didn't require them to tell you what's on their mind. You know.
Well, I think what has happened is, well, two things have happened. Number one is we've always had yellow journalism way back in
Mm-hmm.
the world days of William Randolph Hearst,
right.
Yep.
who had said, if if you want a war, tell me who to blame, and I'll give you your war.
Mm-hmm.
But there were safeguards. But what has happened is, in the days of All in the Family, it was a show that was done by someone who was probably mostly liberal to show short-sighted people up, and they were the
Right. Right.
butt of the joke. But then one day, somebody looked around and said, "Why don't we make a show for the Archie Bunkers rather than one about the Archie
Mm-hmm.
Bunkers?" And that's why everything came as it is now. That you do have this, and also the thing is, and unfortunately, it's like a good news, bad news thing about connectivity. It's like when the railroad finally cut down on the travel time between the East Coast and the West Coast. Once you had the internet, you had a railroad down the rabbit hole for all the people who
Mm-hmm.
could not connect or echo these crazy things. Back in the day, when people said, "Well, that is so crazy, I'm not going to even bother trying to repeat that,"
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden, it became, "Well, how many clicks can I get
Right.
if I
Right.
repeat that?"
Right. And I think there's so much right now that everybody believes. I mean, I guess a lot of people, number one, don't know how money works. They think that everything is related to, like you say, clicks and influencer things. But things cost money, you know, and that well, if I go show XYZ dress, and they'll give me the dress to wear, or the pants to wear, or something like that. They think that that's what the world is, like some sort of a deal, a barter. But eventually, things do cost money, which is why so many of these people who are quote unquote influencers, they're like here today, gone tomorrow. They found out because they found out eventually that stuff costs money. People don't just want to give you stuff. And again, we discussed this many years ago, I think, with the fact that some people in this, United States, in this world, believe that capitalism is our political system, not realizing they don't know that it's an economic system, that capitalism has nothing to do with what our system is, our political system, being a democracy or Republican form of government. So they think everything has to do with money, you know?
Well, it goes back to that thing about them making things for people who, and it's like before they had a name for it, it's the echo chamber. Is that
Hmm.
you listen to people that just reinforce things that you have been taught, or things that feel right, but it may
Right,
not be right, and
right.
that's it. There was a little snippet that they had with this guy, and he was a guy somewhere in Texas who was complaining about Juneteenth, and he was calling it a made-up holiday that was not going to be observed, and this, that, and the other.
Hmm.
And it was something that he, of course, obviously did not research it or understand it
Hmm.
or discuss this with anybody who would say, but what about this? He
Hmm.
just went with what he thought it felt right and figured that because he felt right. And I think somebody asked him about that. And he just said that he didn't have to have facts or research about it. He just knew that his opinion was so right. There was, in his mind, no reason to check it.
Well, you know what? Remember that what is his name? Stephen Colbert. They call that thing truthiness. You
Yep.
know that how I felt about what this is it's no truth, the truthiness. How I feel about this is the most important thing. I don't have any facts to bring it to back it up, but how I feel, like that's truthiness. And a lot of people really they live in that box.
Yeah. Well, that and something I realized, and all of a sudden, every once in a while, you just get hit by a realization. But I was one of the people I was sharing a room with. Um, Somehow that we didn't really talk about a lot, because among the things that he would do, he was one of those people who would, and they put it in the commercial about Fandango, but about people that talk back to characters on TV
Mm-hmm.
as if they could hear you somehow
Hmm.
or something like that. And that was it. But that was him all day that he would do that. So we didn't have a lot to talk about, but somehow we got into a conversation once where he adamantly believed that everything, if you want to know anything, all you had to do was go on Google and it would tell you everything you needed to know.
Huh.
So I pointed out to him, or I mentioned it, well, you can't trust everything on Google because they don't vet a lot of the stuff, and anybody can put something on there. And so that was the thing that just went back and forth for a while, that he just figured that, well, the only reason I said that is I did not know what I was talking about, but that that was like the Google was like
Hmm.
the new Oracle of Delphi, or something like that. And it
Yeah.
suddenly hit me that the problem that this was a guy who had a problem is that he was never wrong. So you can
Hmm.
never like insult him because he just knew that whatever his opinion was, he was right about it.
Hmm.
So there
And these
are
people don't believe in
people,
truth, right? They don't believe in.
yeah.
Okay, in fact, he talks about Google and knows everything, but what happens when he goes onto Google and it says something that is counter to what his belief system is? Then what?
You keep searching.
To find something that does agree, right?
Yeah, you keep searching.
Yeah,
You ever go down Google rabbit hole?
yeah,
You keep
it's a
searching.
trip.
Well,
Yeah,
that's where the
you'll find
well,
something that you agree with, that agrees with you.
well, that's where the algorithm becomes your friend and your
Hmm.
foe,
Yep.
because it will push up things that that you have looked at before, and so you
Hmm.
figure, well, of course that's what it is, and
But
It's
it's also we look at stuff like that, and once again, I blame media once again because it's like what does intellectualism look like? So for the conservative people, it used to look like William F. Buckley. Now it looks like what's that bald-headed guy that works for Trump?
Steve Miller?
Stephen
Yeah.
Miller.
Yeah, he gives off the impression of some sort of intellectualism.
Not to me.
Well, to the conservative crowd, he does.
I don't see how.
He cosplays.
I don't see how, man.
He does. If you watch any shows he shows up on.
But that's the thing. You are good at that.
Yeah, I watch that crap, and so William F. Buckley it got kicked out. They don't have time for that. So they don't have to put in the work to be like William F. Buckley. You may disagree with him, but
he's gonna have support for his argument.
Yeah, so
even if you don't agree,
Yeah, let's have a debate, right?
Right.
But having a debate with Stephen Miller, there's no debate with that guy. He hasn't gone through any intellectual rigor.
No.
To come, he just does what Cranston just said.
He's just a propagandist. That's all.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
and he's like Goebbels, right? He'll say things that sounds reasonable or rational, but they're straight out lies, and it sounds like he's been through the intellectual thing. He has a platform. He's on television, and a lot of people still give a lot of weight to people who show up on television in a coat and a jacket and tie, and the right makeup and a correct pair of earrings, and they give a lot of weight to that. They give a great deal of weight for it to it. And so, these platforms, CNN for the longest time had a almost exclusive platform. And what they used to do, which I used to hate, and it was a doorway to this, it just basically say, I have one person on this side who's a racist. I have another person on this side who's not a racist, who's a progressive person. Tell me your side, racist person. Tell me your side, progressive person. Let's cut to commercial. As giving each one of those viewpoints some sort of equality, right?
Yeah, although there's a say that, and this is the reason why what you say is inaccurate,
right?
And this is why
and just leave the audience to itself to decide on its own,
right?
We're not going to decide we're not going to decide
for you.
We're not going to help the audience figure out which is right, which one can withstand rigorous
scrutiny,
or anything like that. As if Walter Cronkite or anybody, Mike Wallace or anybody else, will let two people come on their show like that and give one side of their thing they look at, and the other person the view of their side, and not say anything. So try to help the audience
and
to figure
ask
out what's garbage.
Yeah,
to figure out what's garbage and what's real, right? Not even a help, no assistance whatsoever. You figure out, audience. We're not gonna try to influence you because people have said that the media is liberal leaning, so we're going to stay away from that.
No, I think that's the way it was. Okay, where they gave both sides, a platform to put forth their argument, and back 20 something, maybe 25, 30 years ago, that was fine. That was fine because back then you didn't have all of this garbage that's going on the internet. Now you didn't have echo chambers, so to speak.
Yes,
back then.
Not as many.
Right.
Well, they say now you can watch a show or find a show on cable or even regular television on YouTube, and the YouTube algorithm helps you out.
Yeah,
and you can find snippets of stuff that you agree with. And then after you watch that video on YouTube, the algorithm says, "Oh, you like that, huh? Let me give you some more."
Yeah. And
so it keeps giving you this stuff that agrees with your point of view, and you don't get to see any other side.
Right.
And you have to work to go to see whatever other side there is opposite to you.
Yeah.
And so, and the audience and people they're not interested. They're not how you say, not interested. They're not really motivated to see what's going on the other side.
Right. I guess they're motivated. That's why motivated. Because they think that they're being given stuff that's real. It's like that comment that was made by Keith Olbermann about this woman that he knew they're talking about the guy Charlie Kirk, and he was saying, how horrible this guy was, and this one said, well, no, he just talks about religious stuff and things like that, and he's like, I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
And so he showed her what it was that he saw, and she was mortified. She said she had no idea because she showed him what she was seeing, and it was all that stuff about religious
all
stuff.
All she saw was evangelistic stuff.
Yeah. So she's thinking, if we're looking at them, saying, "What's he's looking at her? What's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
And she's looking at him. Why are you so mad, angry about this guy?
And we keep saying that people who disagree with us, are somehow evil.
Yes. He said, but no, sometimes people disagree because we're not all seeing the same picture. It's not like it used to be when we all watched Walter Cronkite. Now they give you not the news that you can use, but the news that supports your views.
Well, it's like, yeah, right, that rhymes. And then you get the other stuff where someone said it's not that the voters pick their political people. It's like the senators and congressmen. It's like the Congress and senators. They pick their voters.
So that's what it is now, isn't it? They go down, they gerrymander and stuff like that to make sure that they get the voters that they want.
It's sort of like the perfect example of that is what's going on right now over at CBS with I was shocked to find out that it was 3 weeks ago now they fired Scott Pelley. It wasn't say he decided to resign or he was retiring. They just outright said so much in his final letter that you're being fired, and you have to wonder, well, how much longer before everybody else has something like 60 minutes?
I figure. Well, I'm going to say this. I am under the impression that it is their goal to dismantle CBS. And what they've done is they've given it over to individuals who are not capable of running a news agency. And they're just, they're just waiting for it to ultimately cave in on itself to get rid of it. These people actually think that the people, these remind me of those kind of people that you went to school with who are mediocre at best, but always thinking they should be in charge of something, always wanted to be in charge. These are the people that they have now at CBS. These are the people who are now running, our federal government. Individuals who should not be in charge of anything. Their mother probably did not trust them to feed their dog, okay? Because they were so irresponsible, and erratic. And these are the people now that are running the federal government. And the thing is, they are so incompetent that they don't even understand how incompetent they are, that they have no idea what in the world they are doing.
Okay, now you're getting kind of personal. Do you mean to tell me that the second in command at FEMA is incompetent just because he said he teleported to the Waffle House?
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying no. Yeah. He's not incompetent. He's crazy for that.
Yeah,
but he's incompetent because he didn't know how to do his job.
Well, the other thing is too. The other thing is too. I think that there are a lot of, and I hate these labels, but there's so many progressive people that really would like to celebrate all of the patriotic things. They really want to be patriotic, but somehow it's been commandeered.
Yeah, by these lunatics. Who are,
basically, and the people who are lunatics aren't. Seeing the handwriting on the wall. They don't see it in the far as people, the population is concerned. And they don't see it as far as natural acts of disaster. If, for instance, the 250th birthday thing celebration, Vanilla Ice was gonna perform, and then it got rained out because of weather, and it got canceled. It's like, take a clue, man. Everything is against you.
Bad luck, schlep rock. Everything bad happens. Everything you touch. Everything you touch.
Well, see, these people right now, with this whole Great American Fair and all of this stuff, they feel that it's only one type of America that should be celebrated. Okay, this is what they feel. Remember, there was a song, I don't know if it was a song or a poem, I Too Sing America. Okay, and that's what celebrating the 4th of July was up until recently. Everybody celebrated it.
Yeah.
in their own way, because the bottom line was democracy, and
Mm-hmm.
even though the founding fathers were kind of short-sighted in some of what they did, but still, the big picture was we celebrated it because of freedom. These people want to take away everybody's freedom.
Right.
Yeah, why can't you say why have progressives ceded the patriotic ground to these other people? I don't know
Yeah.
what
Why
label.
why have progressive? Well, first, I don't think it's so much that progressives have ceded the ground of patriotism, because I do think if you scratch a progressive, you will find a patriot. Okay,
Absolutely.
but I think the problem with that is, even within the progressive camp, we've gotten into this tribal thing,
Mm-hmm.
which is not healthy. We've gotten into the private tribalism. We got into our own echo chambers. We see one thing about Republicans throughout the decades, that they also worked in lockstep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they also marched in lockstep. With progressives, we tend to be all over the place,
Well, the
and
only reason I think go all over the place is because we represent within progressivism basically so many different views. And the picture I find is
right.
this: there's certain things in my mind that are public and certain things are private. And if
Hmm.
within the group of progressives, you understand your private shit is your private shit. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to know
Well,
about it. It says, and if, as long as it's not illegal, then you do you. But the
right.
thing I look at is that if we have this group of rights,
Hmm.
responsibilities that we
Hmm.
all agree on, then we all get in the boat and we row in the same direction in order to support those things. Now, when it comes down to who it is that you want to sleep with, how many people you want to sleep with, guess what? Not my business, and I don't care.
Well,
And the point is,
that's
and
that.
and the things that is your private business.
Hmm.
And if you make stuff that is your private business that has to be the hallmark of whether or not you vote for somebody or you're going to be, doing X, Y, Z, then you are the problem.
Well, that's what I mean with the tribalism.
Yeah, you are the
Okay,
problem then.
we
Yeah,
we
because
Because
you
we
had the
get into the
Democrats.
tribalism where I have to it's express myself this way,
and you
and
have every right,
Well,
but that's not here.
you
Not
can't say it
here.
that way. Well, the thing is,
Yeah.
you had Democrats who made a speech. They had speeches when
Mm-hmm.
the as James said earlier in the show, the Mamdani
Mm-hmm.
backed people running for office. They won
Mm-hmm.
their primaries, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then the Democratic Party felt the need to come out and say, these people are not us. They affiliate themselves with us, but they're not us. They don't represent what we represent. They don't speak for us. We want to make sure that make sure we stiff arm them. They felt the need to do that.
But thing is, like maybe the problem is that you are not us. The people who call themselves representatives of the Democratic Party. That you're not us. That these other people are us. You're not. You represent something that is archaic, that we don't even relate to anymore, and you're still trying to hold on to it. But I
yeah.
tell you this: my party is my party is the privacy party, which is
Well,
I support
see, they'll
anything
slap a
that
label on
relates. Well,
you.
that's mine.
They'll
Well, then,
slap a label.
this,
You're
yeah,
libertarian.
okay. Then
They'll
this,
say you're not Democratic. You're libertarian.
I'm not libertarian. I am 100% uh, privacy. And all these things that we have that are supposed to be private, certain records that we have that are supposed to be private, our medical records are supposed to be private. What we do at home and our personal life, that's private. And there are a lot of people out there who want to put this stuff out there and say, yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to be with this one, that, and the other one. That's great. But when we're sitting here, we're trying to figure out our coalition politics. You put that in your back pocket and you keep it in your house because nobody needs to know. As long as it's not illegal, then it's nobody's business.
Well,
If somebody says that, okay, so and so was going out with these women and they say that he treated them badly, guess what? That's a private matter and I don't care. It's like you couldn't put your hands on him. You didn't beat anybody up. Okay, then it sounds like to me just a bad relationship, and
Well,
that's
they
not
took
my
they
business.
sure took a shot at that guy up there.
And they
didn't
did, yeah, they took a
But
shot. It
what
didn't
is
work.
what is did everybody say? What did they celebrate July 4th and that?
Oh yeah, well, I know that. I don't know if you heard Otto. He was asking, everybody who does celebrate July 4th. Do you, James?
No,
You said so.
again, it ebbs and flows. You know,
Mm-hmm,
there was a time when I used to get into the whole barbecuing thing, and get some ribs, some
mm-hmm.
slaw, and then I
Yeah.
cook blood, but now it just ebbs and flows.
Mm-hmm,
Um, I right now, it's like Happy Birthday, United States of America.
mm-hmm,
But right now, I'm just not into it
mm-hmm,
because we're in a very dark place right now.
mm-hmm.
We're in a very
Yeah, how
dark
about you,
place.
Sonia? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how about you, Sonia? Do you celebrate? Can you hear me, Sonia? Can you hear me? I know she had some problem with her speakers, so she still may be having some issues. Okay, Cranston, do you
The
celebrate it? Yeah.
throughout my adult life, the extent of my celebration of the Fourth of July is being a we get the day off. It's
Yay.
one of our mandated holidays. B, somebody who is cooking will invite you over to their house for a meal.
All right.
And then C, to go watch the fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as but I take it to the point, even during the year, if they stand up, and if I have to say the Pledge of Allegiance, I
Mm-hmm.
always leave out the part about uh, the one about adding God in the Pledge of Allegiance, because that wasn't until the late 50s
That
they
they
just
added
threw
that,
that
right?
in there. And I said, no, so I'm not going to do that. I will stand at attention. I might put my hand over my heart, but it's not going to be anything that I'm going to really cheer about. And
Mm-hmm.
then you get little pieces of things that wear it away when you find out that whenever they have these things about, we're going to surprise the family of what's called sergeant whatever coming in, and
Mm-hmm.
they didn't know that he was, those tearful reunions, and when
Mm-hmm.
they get out on the field and they unfurl those flags that go from end zone to end zone, that all that stuff is paid for by the government.
Mm.
That's not, just
Paid
you said,
for
well, who
by us.
paid for that? Yeah.
Paid
Yeah.
for by us.
So
I didn't give consent to have a commercial on the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So why are tax dollars paying for that?
Yeah.
But that's it. But all of those things, they come up a little bit, and it kind of chips away at things to be patriotic about, and then
Yes.
you find out a lot of things that we had grown up hearing. It was simply because nobody questioned it. It's
That's true
like
too.
for years you hear the story about and also a simpler time. So, like you hear about Forrestal, who when he was the secretary of, I think it was still Secretary of War then,
Mm-hmm.
accidentally fell or jumped from his 10th floor window at a hotel he was staying in, and everybody was saying, "Oh, that's so tragic." And back in the 50s, you could get away with a story like that and then
Mm-hmm.
turn over to the next page in the paper. But
Mm-hmm.
if something like that happened today, there would be, well, like with Jeffrey Epstein, there would be a lot more questions about, well, what were the circumstances this happened, and who was
Mm-hmm.
there when it happened?
Yep.
And so we're not quite as gullible as we were at one time, but they're still not telling us everything we need to know.
Yeah. And nowadays, what it is that you talk about somebody, jumped, fell, whatever, out the window, you may not even find out that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nowadays, you
yeah,
may not even know that happened.
but see, I coming at this from a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
As I said before, in fact, a lot of this stuff that we see out here now is because people in the United States, will believe everything but the truth. Okay,
Mm,
I repeat, people in the United States will believe everything but the truth. Just look at when it comes to Black history. Okay,
mm-hmm.
people, you tell the average white person out here certain things of Black history, they won't believe it. They won't believe about Black inventors. They
Mm-hmm.
won't believe
Yeah.
the contribution. I recently found out that you had a Black soldiers contributed to D-Day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you don't find out these things, and when you tell people stuff like this, they won't believe you. But
But
they
you know what?
they'll
I'll tell you the one that because I mean I'm a son of from come from the South, Southern, I'm from Florida. That all the time you hear people saying, like especially about things like the Civil War. You know,
Mhm.
all the time you would hear Anglos and stuff. That we fought, you know, for your freedom. You know, people died, brother
Thank
against
you.
brother, like free freedom. It's like, okay, when I was young, my response is, well, guess what? If you didn't keep people enslaved, nobody would have to fight for anything. You know,
Mhm.
but that's the choice you are made to enslave people and make money and will have grow wealth on the backs of other people without their
Well,
permission.
it's a
And
conclusion.
then, yeah,
It's a
right,
conclusion
right.
that they reached.
But then to find out, and when I get older, became an adult. Oh, so Black people fought in the Civil War,
Mm-hmm.
not just people who were running around giving you provisions or Harriet Tubman, taking people from place to place and stuff. No, they had actually be in uniform Black people, soldiers in the Civil War. And that's what really the thing that spikes me the most from my childhood. I think about the fact that they had the nerve to say this ish all the time, either knowing or maybe not knowing that Black people were actively,
Yeah, well,
involved in the
those are
Civil War
arguments
as soldiers.
conclusions that they use and arguments that they
Mm-hmm.
use. Like the thing is, my grandfather never owned any slaves. They come up with these, and you hear them less, and sometimes you hear them
Yeah.
more
Mm-hmm.
based on the political climate.
Right.
But the thing is, the issue is that okay, you say that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you're talking.
How nice.
Let's talk about what you said
Yes.
because I think people want to say that and then close the door.
Yeah, and they don't want to have anybody follow up and say, okay, well, nobody's saying that didn't have slaves. They didn't have to have slaves. The reality is that right now you benefit from a system that was put in place that took wealth from one set of people, not just their wealth, their privacy, their labor from them, so that people that look like you could benefit from
See,
it.
they don't say that part.
Mhm.
You only hear the first part,
Right.
and then they close the door.
Yeah, they don't want to talk about the rest of it.
They
Yeah.
don't talk about the rest of it.
So
They
you
don't say
still-
anything about the fact that white soldiers fought for the end of slavery to end
Mhm.
slavery, right? They close,
Mhm.
then they close the door.
And there's a
But
way.
there's other part
Yeah.
of the story. There's another part of the story.
Yeah.
And then the issue: if you do not celebrate July 4th,
Mm-hmm.
are we once again ceding that to these people who are less patriotic than anybody ever was?
Yeah, I think so, because the issue is that the vast majority of these people who celebrate the holiday now, such that they do, if they're not, African Americans at least, that they weren't here when we were here. We were here long before they were. So if it's anybody's country, it's certainly ours more than it is theirs. So yeah, this is the celebration of our country. They just happen to be, Johnny come lately visitors too, if you want to get down to it. And if they say, yeah, but we claim this place too, wonderful. You do that, but you don't get to claim it by trying to either foreclose other people from coming to this country, just like nobody foreclosed your family from coming. You don't get to foreclose other people's families from coming.
Well, again, you just got a certain segment out here that will believe anything but the truth.
Anything but the truth, right?
Anything but the truth.
Yes, we need a pair of pliers.
They want that. In fact, I would say that was a real push this last presidential election
Mm-hmm.
to get as much Generation Z votes. Okay.
But the thing is, those people were. I mean, let's face it. A lot of those individuals were
Okay.
lied to, and they.
Oh,
But why not
but
believe lied?
They're
'Cause they were
finding out now. Yeah.
Well, the thing is this: it's like they were told they came out of school, they went to high school, they went to college, professional school, whatever it was, and they were told all their lives, go out, do this, do that, graduate, and you'll get a job. You'll do fine. And then to find out that's not true.
It's not
You
true.
know, still, living at
Yeah.
home, or some of them
Who should
not
they-
even get to live at home.
Who should they be? Who should they be mad at?
Well, the things I don't know who they should be mad at, but but the point is, somebody tells them this lie that I get in the political office, you vote for me, and then all your problems will be resolved. And everybody wants to believe that somebody could go into office and resolve all my problems, or even better, as far as they're concerned, to say there's things that are happening to you, not that it's the government's fault or your fault, it's the fault of these other people who are taking more than they deserve.
That reminds me
right?
of this stupid joke I heard on the Tales from the Crypt.
Mhm.
That guy was saying, they say capital punishment is bad. He was talking to the guy who used to be who used to turn the switch
Mhm.
on the electric chair. I don't
Mhm.
know if anyone's seen that episode.
Mhm.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So he was saying, they say capital punishment is bad, and it's really hurtful to minorities.
Mhm.
And the guy who's the people says, well, I don't know about that. They're all kind of brown after I'm done with them. So stupid. But it's like listen. The thing is that we're all getting screwed in various ways.
Yeah.
We have to understand how and why it's happening, but we're getting just so many the visions and diversions that James said, tribal stuff.
Yeah.
Instead of the Democrats coming up and saying the Mondani candidates, we don't have
Congratulations.
anything to do with them.
What they should have said is congratulations.
Yeah, why not?
Congratulations, y'all. Good work.
Well, the reason for that is that for some reason, especially the Democrats are chasing this this weird electorate of undecided in whatever.
So why don't you get the votes of the people who actually go to work every day?
Just
and vote?
Republicans, the undecided people.
Yeah.
How can you be undecided against Hitler?
Yeah,
Well-
exactly. How can you?
Well, that's the
And if you are,
question.
you don't need your votes.
They don't know who they are, but you hear about them all the time. And
Yeah.
that's why they
Right.
don't want to do anything.
And also the thing is, I think it's presumptuous to think that because I'm a woman, right? Because I'm a Black woman, that I have no choice but to vote for you.
Yeah, then you're gonna be.
So
a
you
Democrat.
don't have to work for my vote.
You got three choices the way I see it.
Yeah.
Or maybe more.
Yeah.
You could vote B, you could vote R, or you could stay at home.
And don't vote at all. And that's what they're getting ready to do, to make sure that half of their registered voters don't come at all. You're not trying to. You want to solve the problems of people who do not know what side their bread is buttered on. Then that's your problem.
And then you heard about the Postmaster General said.
Mm-mm.
He said that for states that won't give up information regarding their voting rolls, then they won't honor the mail-in ballots. They won't deliver them.
Then I guess you gotta,
I think I'm almost sure he's gonna lose that in court.
yeah.
Because that's just see here's
And he probably will. But James, here the thing
Well,
is, he
we
probably
gotta
will. But the thing is, he put it out there.
yeah
So
I know
That's an effect. That's an
Yeah.
effect.
To try to force
But-
different
but-
states to
but-
give up their shit, then they're shut down.
People not
But
voting.
see, one thing I will notice, which is kind of a silver lining, is that what these people are trying to do, it always ends up sometimes sooner or later in an overreach.
Yep.
Okay, they hit a single and they tried around the bases to get a triple.
They
Yeah.
end up in a
In a rundown. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, that's even better. Run, you know. What I'm saying?
That's the worst thing. It's bad enough to get thrown out at second or third. You end up in some stupid long rundown.
Yeah. No.
And then what makes it worse, now you trying to not get tagged, you start running towards the outfield.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay. No.
There's a Charlie Brown cartoon where he was in the outfield and the ball was going to him. Bases were loaded, and if he caught the ball, they would have won the game. And he was so busy thinking about how great it was going to be and how the little red-haired girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. and the ball hits him in the head, knocks him out, and they clear the bases and win the game. And then so Linus comes looking for him hours later, and he's still lying out in the outfield.
Mm-mm.
And he
Yep.
said,
I said, him, yeah, you might as well stay there.
I thought I was going to be the hero, but it wasn't. So that's what happens. You are so busy looking at the outcome that you
Outcome.
don't look at the
Yeah.
process.
Yeah,
Right.
a lot of this stuff, if you notice, in fact, I would say this regime is kind of like a bully. Once they see that you punch back,
Yeah.
they tend
They
to
avoid
back.
you. They
Yeah,
avoid you now.
okay, because all of this again, all of this was planned. All
Mm-hmm.
this was planned with what they doing. See now, as far as New York goes, okay, what a lot of the old guard don't understand is that this city has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this city has changed. You, in fact, here's another thing where, like I said, you have people that are Jewish, Irish, Italian,
Mm-hmm.
and for decades they were under this false narrative that had it not been for them, you wouldn't have New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which is bogus. You had other ethnic and racial groups that contributed to this city. In fact, big time. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? But when Mondani came, he just blew everything up because people weren't paying attention. It was a whole new generation of voters
Right.
out here that lean progressive. You have different ethnic groups that he could identify with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and all the old guard, including us black folk in New York City, black Democrats, traditional
Mm-hmm.
Democrats, they weren't paying attention.
Yeah,
They would
I
not
guess you're
pay
right.
attention.
Because a lot of people expect it just because I'm a black politician. I expect black people to come in and vote for me. I'm not giving you anything. I'm not promising you anything. I haven't done shit for you.
Yeah,
So, but I expect that because I'm black and I'm running, you should vote for me.
yeah. Everybody went along with Adams and whatnot. He's our brother. Even though I was
Mm-hmm.
too sick to vote for him when he ran, I was like, okay, I get with him. But gosh darn it, day one he started putting the
He was
silverware in
horrible.
Gracie Mansion in the pocket. He started putting shit
You
under
know,
his coat. And they like, Mr. May, you don't have to do all of that. What are you doing? It was just
If
wave
you think
after
about
wave
it,
of corruption.
if you think about it, Trump is like a copycat of Adams.
That's why they got along.
Yeah.
That's why they got along.
when you
Because
tell me why, here's the thing with Trump. People don't understand it. People who are not from New York don't understand this. But he loves anything associated with the city, especially Gracie Mansion and City Hall and stuff like that, because he knows that it's outside of his reach. Outside of his reach. And so he doesn't really give a damn what anybody in Indiana thinks. He don't care about those damn people.
never
Or
did, never
Idaho.
will.
All he
Never.
cares about the New York Times, and people in New York love him. That's why Mondani went to the White House. He was all shits and giggles,
Mm-hmm.
basically kissing his ass.
Yeah.
And he don't care what anybody else thinks. As long as you're from New York City, you're good. But yeah, even stupid Chuck Schumer, who needs to be replaced.
Mm-hmm.
Like the world's oldest, like great grandpa senator. Anytime something happens that the Democratic Party, the Democratic senators need to speak, here comes Chuck Schumer, old as hell, with his glasses perched on his nose, looking like some elderly person on the subway with an ill-fitting suit on, telling you something that's wasteful, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a waste of time. The same thing with Hakeem Jeffries, who is from Bedford-Stuyvesant, but sound like he's from some suburb of Queens.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's the hardest you can go, bro. That's the hardest you can go. It's like the best thing you can say is F Trump. That's the best you can
So
say.
you have no.
That is so weak.
Yeah, come on.
You don't hear Mondani. You don't hear him say a whole lot about the president at all.
He ignores him.
Yeah, 'cause he's doing his thing.
Yeah.
He's doing his thing.
Let's
And
stay
so
focused
we
on my
need
job.
this new generation. We need the so-called Democratic socialists, because they're the true progressives of the Democratic Party. They're the true people of the Democratic Party, and they're not elderly like Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, I'm so sick of seeing him. Anybody mentions Bernie Sanders, it makes me mad.
But Bernie Sanders, supports Mondani and a lot of these Mondani-backed candidates. So they're willing to say that these candidates are Mondani-backed candidates, but
They won't say their party.
But they don't say a damn thing about Bernie Sanders, though.
Right.
They're saying
Even
that
though he
about
supported him.
Mondani because Mondani is Muslim.
Yeah.
So that gives you more bang for the buck.
Yeah, because now maybe the Christians, will vote for me because I said something negative about him.
I said people are waking up. I think people are waking up.
I do too. I hope
And
so.
I think that
Yeah.
I think July 4th is the day to celebrate, like watching the old Superman cartoons, like truth, justice, and the American way,
man.
That's still a thing.
Yeah.
That is still a thing. And just because the American way is not what they purport it to be, we can make it what it should be. And look at the founding fathers, so-called founding fathers. A lot of this stuff is two-faced and hypocritical and everything else.
But
you
the
say,
good,
you know what?
trash the bad.
Yes, that's right. We can't throw it all
Take
out.
the good stuff, trash the
can't.
bad.
Yeah, you can't throw it all out. In fact, what's funny is that I could actually remember it might have been around the time of the 4th of July. I remember a television special by Norman Lear. When he was starting up that organization, he had People for the American Way, and it was basically showcasing different people of different colors and ethnic background, saying how they belong to America too. Okay.
Yeah, why don't we have that now? We should have that now.
I mean,
That's I want to say this though.
But they all want to say LGBTQ this.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And
Islam
trans and
this.
stuff. I don't care.
All these different tribes.
All that stuff all this just private shit.
yeah, and mind you, he even had on that show, which I also wonder about Rod Steiger. He had Rod Steiger say a little thing about being gay in America. Okay, but
you don't have to be gay. You don't have to be gay to support gay rights.
That people have rights. That's why I said these are privacy issues.
Because your business.
That's right. That's your personal business and nobody else's business about who it is that you sleep with or when or where or whatever.
But it's your right to do it.
Well, this is the problem with people on the left. We would have progressed with the Big Tent Party, right? But then it just kept breaking down, and then it's like the situation, like you said, in Maine with that Democrat running for I mean, because he had a little text argument with some woman he was going out with or whatever years ago, because they had that argument, we're gonna disqualify him.
Yeah,
just like they did the guy in California.
I understand who was pushing against him. Not only was it the Republicans he hadn't even entered the race against him yet, but the Republicans are pushing against him as well as the Democrats themselves.
And so does we start
they wanted
a
77-year-old white woman to run up against Susan Collins.
Yeah,
that's what they wanted.
One thing what you call
or they wanted Susan Collins.
Yeah. Or so my thing's like what's this say? What guys Plattner?
Yeah.
So I'm a Plattner progressive, okay? Which means I do not care about your personal life. I don't want you coming out telling me you're straight. I don't want you coming out telling me you're gay. I don't care. I want you to talk about the things that are going to affect American citizens.
Okay, what about this?
People who are coming into the or people who want to become American citizens.
What about his tattoo?
I said, but you know what? You got say Lucy, you got some explaining to do. Tell me about your tattoo.
He said, I knew about the tattoo. I had the tattoo. I thought it was cool to get.
Right.
And then I found out later that it represented something out of the SS from the Nazi symbol. And then I got it. I either got it. He got it removed, or he got it altered, or something, or whatever.
Right.
You know what I say? That sounds good to me. Let's go.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Well, thanks for letting me know. That's good. But I got other issues. Okay. Let's see. Mine are. I want to know how you voted on certain issues. That's what I want to know. I mean, you could have a tattoo of Mickey Mouse. You know, on your
But
chest. I don't care.
he also said, in case any of your black people want to vote for him, he said, black people. Why is it that black people don't tip well when they leave? They go to restaurants.
So what are you, a waiter? I said, what are you, waiter? I said, no, because a lot of black people believe like that Mr. Pink and Reservoir Dogs. Don't you get a paycheck? And I got to pay you again twice.
I don't care.
No, my thing is this. I say, look, do you get a paycheck? Why do I got to pay you again? And also supposed to be for you to do a good job. And if you didn't do a good job, I'm saying he's a black person. I said, if I feel like you do a good job, I will give you a tip. If I feel like you did not do as good a job as serving me at the restaurant as my mom would do if I'm at house, you don't get a tip. I'm not just paying you my money just because you showed up.
Is that enough not to vote for somebody?
What? That they don't
That's
like
what he
people,
said. Yeah.
that they don't like him because he doesn't tip?
No, he said.
No, man.
He asked a question of somebody.
Yeah, I said, come on.
Why is it that black people don't tip well when they go to the restaurant?
I said, because we don't have any extra money.
They put that up as the reason why black people shouldn't vote for him.
Well, we know
what I'm saying.
I know.
I don't care.
And let's say, so my question is, who did he ask that question and why?
He asked a black friend of that
okay,
question.
end of discussion.
Right.
Private conversation. I'm done. So that's it. Say, who did he ask? You don't ask the personal friend a thing that's said in a conversation. I wasn't in a conversation. I don't care. He didn't expect the guy was going to go out and ask other people or say that he said that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just like, again,
what does
it's
it
personal.
What does it matter?
It's just personal.
Do we not see who's in the White House now?
Yeah, we got problems here, y'all.
Thank you for saying, do we not see who's in the White House now?
Yeah.
We need to stop with the BS where we gotta disqualify.
What do you call that thing you call, Greg? There's a term you use for that. Like everybody has to be so perfect. What is it? What you call it? Politics.
Purity test.
Purity test. Purity test. That's what
we have to stop it.
Enough with the purity test. Enough.
Enough
you know?
with it. Okay. I mean, again, things are getting worse before they're gonna get better, and now it's not the time. When I see progressives and Democrats arguing amongst themselves, I'm like, come on, the house is on fire, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But James, you go back to 2015. The Democratic Party was having debates, or even go back to 2020 when they were having debates about who's going to run up against Trump, and it said Trump was an existential threat, and you have all these Democrats on stage: Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, various other people. They didn't act like it was an existential threat. I think it's an existential threat to us. I don't think it's an existential threat to them.
No, absolutely not.
Well, you know what? Then they were all what's the saying? They were all frogs in a pot of boiling water.
Yeah, you're right.
I think they're fine.
No, but they just turn up the heat.
Yeah,
and it'll be too late once they realize it.
I think this guy is going after people and having FBI, indictments and all this kind of stuff. And that guy Bolton just pled guilty to mishandling confidential documents. No one liked that guy anyway.
Yeah, I found it hilarious too because he was a Mr. Hawk, a war hawk.
He was horrible. He was horrible.
And this was
then he served in the first administration of this guy, and then he came out after serving a short time and said all these things that he saw, and then he wrote a book and he made like millions of dollars. Now he's probably going to jail.
Gotta laugh. Yeah.
I think it's funny. I do think it's funny.
People are crazy. They're crazy to have trusted that guy with their lives.
Yeah.
So are you nuts? This guy? Come on.
Yeah, he's on the revenge tip.
Yeah, he's always on the revenge tour. That's what he's on, the revenge tour. Just hopefully that your town is not on the list, the scheduled stop.
He's coming after you.
Yeah,
Buy
because the
tickets
reality,
now.
even if eventually it's shown to be wrong, he will take such a big bite out of your life and your time.
Yeah,
You know?
and I think of all the times, July 4th,
Mm-hmm.
to celebrate July 4th. He doesn't want you to celebrate July 4th.
Mm-mm. No,
He definitely doesn't want us to celebrate July 4th.
he wants we should be celebrating him.
Yeah.
But look, guys, we are like 5 minutes from wrapping this thing up, and I know Sonia, we're trying to ask if is your mic working again yet? No, why it is that you don't celebrate 4th of July, and Cranston, you already gave your position on it. I know I haven't done quite mine. You, Otto, how about yours?
Just like I said, it's not celebrated is a win for this guy.
That's right, and I believe in celebrate. We fly our flag, our U.S. flag, but their Texas flag is gone. We need to find that, but no, we fly all our flags because we figure that our people fought for this. Our people constantly go to work every day. We absolutely are not going to cede anything. Not anything.
That's why I disagree with some people that say, "Oh no, don't celebrate because you just showed that you brought into the American system, yada yada." No, my people helped build this country.
Absolutely. Okay.
And don't look for me to go back to Africa no time soon because it's just too hot. So I'm here.
Oh. Okay. And I said, Sonia just posted that she does not celebrate the 4th of July for the past 4 years because it's the anniversary of her mom's passing.
Okay.
And so that is more than enough reason.
I understand.
That is more than enough reason. Yeah, but I think this year, of course, as usual, we will be celebrating, the contributions that our people have made to this country. We absolutely have reason to celebrate. We aren't going to let people who will try to, and they want us to downplay it. They want us to not talk about what we have done so that they can pretend that we were not involved when we are.
Exactly. That's the game plan. Don't buy into the game plan.
Yeah, don't let them trick you into giving up your legacy. That's what it is. They try to trick you into handing it over and say, no, we're not handing over nothing. This is ours. Okay. I'm trying to show something and it went away. Sonia posted something. That wasn't what I'm trying to show. Hold on. Here we go. I got it now. Don't worry, Sonia. I know we got like 2 minutes left, but I did want to post the last thing you had. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Say so P250 is Trump's celebration. America 250 is the official celebration. So if you're going to celebrate, America 250 is the one that's the right one, and the Trump celebrate freedom 250 is the wrong one. So don't do freedom because that's all that is. It's just they're using those buzzwords. Yeah. Freedom.
And America 250 was supposed to be
the official one. Yeah,
and what it was a bunch of historic festivals.
Yeah, that's
America
so great.
Was supposed to be brought to Washington, D.C.
What a shame. Yes. This person is around during this very historic time in our country's history. What a shame. Well, we just may have to do it next year, 2 years, maybe after he's gone next year.
I think 2 years.
Oh no, I don't expect him to survive that long. No, I don't expect him to survive that long. No. So I think that we're going to have, we have to, if we are stepping up and actually showing that this is our country, then people take it away from us. But all right, guys, this is it. Well, I'll say to you, happy 4th of July for those who celebrate. Happy birthday to our son Adam, whose birthday is today. Yay. Anybody else, right quick? We got like a few seconds before we have to get done. Anybody? No? You're celebrating anything important? All right, then. Well, thank y'all so much for being here. We'll be back again next week with more discussions from the other hood. Thank you so much. See you then. Bye-bye.
And happy holiday.
Happy holiday, yes.